Everyone, it's Rich's Reptiles, and today I'm going to be discussing the top 5 plants for terrariums. So as number 1 on this list, I have chosen pothos. It's a very hardy plant. You can take cuttings of it easily, as you can see I have done here, and it's very easy to grow in a terrarium. It's very hardy. It can survive not extensive droughts, but small periods of droughts, and different animal plants on top of it. You can easily take cuttings and put them in your enclosures. It's a really good plant. It looks nice, it's common, it's cheap, it's easy. Probably the best plant for a beginner. You can even let it trail up the background of your enclosure if you get if you get a staple or paper clip, unravel that and stick it in the background and it will climb up, which I find is really cool with this plant. It looks nice, it grows very quickly, and it will fill up a small space in the terrarium, which is good because then it will make your animal feel safe. I will say this is more for tropical species of reptiles, amphibians and invertebrates. The reason is it prefers more humidity, so keep in mind if you are using it for an arid sort of animal, you want to keep that area a lot more humid. So that is why I've chosen pothos. I'll show you the pothos in my enclosures, and so in this enclosure I have a small pothos cutting here. I also have one at the back there, you can kind of see it, and I just snip these off, put them in the soil, and they have grown roots. You can see the roots there. This terrarium's not been going for long, so it grows quickly, and that's why it's number 1 on the list. So for number 2 on this list, I have chosen Wandering Jew. This is a very nice plant. It looks nice, it's got purple and green on it. It can make your enclosure look a lot nice. Again, like pothos, if you take cuttings, it will easily grow. Again, I have Wandering Jew cuttings. In this enclosure, I put 4 cuttings in, and there's about 14 in there now. So it grows very quickly. I just watered it a bit, and it does very well. Like the pothos, it's more of a tropical species of plant, and yeah, you can choose to keep the cuttings in water for a bit before you add them in, or you can just put them straight in the soil. Both works. I've tried it both with the pothos and the Wandering Jew, and both work exactly the same. So yeah, this one is probably a bit more hardy than pothos, because even if you don't water it for like a month, it will still be there, and you can rejuvenate it. Like this stuff here, I first got it and I didn't water it for a month, and then I started watering it a lot more and it just grew back. So it's a very good plant. Like the pothos, take cuttings, grows fine, and it really spreads over time, and I just think it's still a really good plant, maybe even better than pothos. But yeah, I think in a tropical enclosure you should have this. It just looks attractive, a bit more attractive than the pothos. It can grow quite big, and yeah. So that's why I've put Wandering Jew on the list. If you see something that looks like this, it will be the same. It's just the name that I'm calling it for today. But there are many different names that come with Wandering Jew as well. But that's just the one that I seem to use. So for number 3 on this list, I've chosen Sansevierias. So these are also known as snake plants and lots of other names. They're really hardy. They're a lot more drought tolerant than pothos and Wandering Jew, and you can use them in arid enclosures like a leopard gecko or a bearded dragon enclosure, for example. But they can also do really well in tropical enclosures like a crested gecko. So these are probably a lot more hardy. They have these big leaves, which is good for animals to sleep in, or just to cover part of their enclosure. And that's why I think they're really hardy. They're like really hard leaves. You can't pull that out. And they grow good roots. They can grow really big, and they need a bit more light than the others, but they're still really hardy and good. They're quite local as well. I keep mine on my windowsill. There are many different species of Sansevierias and Dracaenas. They are sort of the same as Dracaenas as well. Dracaenas, which we'll go on to next, there are loads of different species, and these are classed in them, but I'd probably say these are the most different of all the Dracaenas, so that's why they have their own part. I have another one here, different species, and they're really hardy with drought, but they can also be good with tropical enclosures as well, so that's why I really recommend them. Talking of Dracaenas, let's move on to Dracaenas. This is my Dracaena. I have it here. It's a bit shriveled, but there's still some live bits up there. There are many different species, as I said. In my crested gecko tricho's terrarium, I have it's a lucky bamboo. It's not actually bamboo, it's a species of Dracaena, and that's doing excellent as well. I might show you that later as well. But Dracaenas, they prefer a bit more hydration than the Sansevieria, but it's pretty much the same. You can get them like this. You can get ones which have a lot more bush, but you can get the ones which have the branch on as well, and they grow good roots. They're really good for either tropical or desert enclosures, maybe a bit more tropical, but I'd say they're still as good as Sansevierias, and that's why I have one here and one in my crested gecko trichos. Now, the last plant on the list, you might not have heard this plant before, but I just picked it up at my local reptile shop, selling reptiles, and so yeah, I just picked this up from a local reptile shop, and it came, I just planted it in this enclosure. It was very small, and then this here, it goes all the way back there, and that's my crested gecko tricho. It's just gone all over the plant, all over the enclosure, sorry. I just think it's an excellent plant. It grows really quickly, it looks really nice, and you might need to do a bit of trimming. I am going to trim this enclosure soon, but I think it's a really good plant for your terrariums. A lot more tropical. Don't keep this in an arid enclosure, but it's really good for your tropical enclosures. You need to water it often. That's why I'd recommend it for a crested gecko. It provides a lot of bush sort of sense for them, so they can hide and climb. So I have this vine here, and then all of these leaves cover it, so Trico can climb on that vine, and she can also be hidden by all of these leaves and the plants. So I think it's a really good option for your terrariums, and just overall it's a really hardy plant. It looks nice, it grows big vines, so Trico can actually climb on these vines, and they're really sturdy as well, but not as sturdy, so it kind of gives her a challenge to try and hold on to the vine without it bouncing off. So yeah, it's gone round here, down there, it's just crazy. And even if, like, once I trapped some of these leaves in the doors because they're growing out of the enclosure, it just grows back. It's just so hardy, and for crested geckos I'd say this is the best plant. And when I say crested geckos, it will work for any gecko from New Caledonia: gargoyle geckos, Chahua geckos, Leachianus geckos, chameleon geckos, Cerasanorum geckos. There's a lot of them, but it will work. So that's why I have this in here. I've never taken it out. I don't have it on my windowsill like my other plants, but I think this is a really great option for you to use in your terrarium. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you got to the end of the video, I really appreciate that, and remember to like and subscribe. So bye.